let's say the government becomes tyrannical, and we have our guns still, thankfully. Something I commonly hear on the left is that, well, we have our guns, but we're going up against like the most powerful nation on the face of the earth. So.
Worked for the Vietnamese.
Yeah, so
worked for us in 1776.
Yeah.
So that would be something I commonly I say it to them, but I just want to hear what you guys have to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a foolish argument, again, because there are innumerable times in recent history that guerrilla armies have held off much larger, much better armed armies. But beyond that, the whole purpose of weapons ownership is to never use the weapons against the government.
That's right.
The idea here is that the cost in blood and treasure of having to impose tyrannical rules on your own population are too high for you to attempt the risk. That's really what this is about. The folks in Texas want to keep their guns because they don't want the federal government coming to take their guns. That's really the argument. Right. The Second Amendment exists to protect the Second Amendment to a certain extent.
And there would like be a lot of bloodshed in that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of human sacrifice that would be necessary in order to violate somebody's rights that way is simply too high. And you see this with the federal government on a fairly regular basis, actually. You remember even in very small-scale scenarios, like Klavan Bundy in Nevada. The federal government surrounded Klavan Bundy's ranch and basically said, if you don't surrender to us, then we're going to blow you away. And a bunch of militia members showed up. You know, I think it was a bad idea. They showed up. And the federal government essentially backed down for the moment because nobody actually wants to see blood in the streets in the United States. That doesn't mean that the power to use the gun is always used properly, but that threat is ever present, and it should be ever present. It keeps a necessary check on the size and scope of the federal government.
Can't help noticing also that everybody wants to take our guns away, surrounded by guys with guns. I mean, I used to live next door to one of the biggest stars in Hollywood all day long, and one of the biggest anti-gun crusaders in Hollywood as well. All day long, these guys were going in with the go bags to protect her house and keep her from being, attacked. They called my house and said, by the way, we're watching your house too. And I thought, great, now the biggest anti-gun advocate in Hollywood has enough guns to protect my house. That's great, but when she moved away, I wanted a gun of my own just to keep safe, So it's like, I think that it is amazing how elite people lose touch with the fact that the rest of us can't surround ourselves with bodyguards and would just like to be safe.
And it's been an interesting pattern too. I'm old enough to remember when it used to be just like people with guns were bad, and the average citizen has no right to a gun. You'd be crazy. Why do you need an AR-15 to defend you and your family? That's the military and the police's job. And then Iraq and Afghanistan happened, and then the military are the bad guys. America is the bad guys. Even military shouldn't have access to certain things. And then we saw with Black Lives Matter and white cops only killing black children in the streets and never anyone else. Well, the cops are bad, they're pigs, now they cannot have guns. The point of the left is to try to whittle away the talking point and start with the average citizen in Texas, for example, that cares about the Second Amendment and wants to uphold the Second Amendment, and then work their way all down the line. And there's a lot of people in the country that are afraid of who's going to wield the power and who's going to really have the guns.